The Cartoonerific podcast is sponsored by the Wonderful World of Animation Gallery, home of rare and wonderful fine animation art. Visit their website at wwagallery.com. And for our Cartoonerific listeners, you will receive a special 10% discount off any purchase if you purchase by March 25th, 2024. Just go to wwagallery.com and enter code CARTOON10 for your 10% discount. Once again, this discount is only valid until midnight, March 25th, 2024. Once again, visit wwagallery.com.
The following is a Cartoonerific Studios presentation.
Welcome to Cartoon Fun, it's Cartoonerific. Yeah! It's Cartoonerific. Cartoonerific. It's Cartoonerific. With your host, Brian Mitchell.
Well, now, welcome to the Cartoonerific Podcast, Classic Animated Cartoons. I am Brian Mitchell, and I am your host. Thank you. Last week on the podcast, our guests were Creative Dynamo's Jennifer and Bert Klein, and they were talking about their animation careers. This week on the podcast, we have on Jennifer and Bert Klein. They're going to be talking more about their career and about the creation of a series that they lovingly crafted called the Pups of Liberty. It's an educational series done with 2D animation. So they're going to be talking about that this week on the show. You know, last week I was going through credits of Bert Klein's, and I hastily mentioned Atlantis. And he corrected me, and it was just right before the show aired, and there was no way, I was actually out of town, so there was no way for me to really correct it on the show then. But I'm correcting it now. He did not work on Atlantis. He worked on Treasure Planet. So sometimes we get things wrong here, but we're quick to fess up and let you know what's correct and what's not. So we hope to get everything right, but not all the time. But anyway, enough about that. Anyway, let's get right to the show. We'll be back after this. Don't go away. It's a good one.
Cartoonerific is the place to be to celebrate hand-drawn animated cartoons. The Cartoonerific podcast features interviews with the magic makers behind your favorite animated cartoons, with episodes uploaded every Friday. Or visit the Cartoonerific blog featuring articles about classic cartoon animation. At the Cartoonerific Gallery, view original animation art and memorabilia from your favorite animated films and TV shows. The company store features exclusive swag from the Cartoonerific universe. And coming soon, brand new world premiere cartoons on the Cartoonerific channel. It's all here. Join the fun at www.cartoonerific.com. That's cartoon, ERIFIC.com. It's Cartoonerific, saving the universe one funny cartoon at a time. And now it's time for our special Cartoonerific guest.
Well, let's get right to it, shall we? Here's part 2 of our interview with Jennifer and Bert Klein. Enjoy.
Folks that I've worked with at Disney and other places that I've been starstruck by, Dale Bear for one.
Massive talent.
Dale. Man, talk
Yeah.
about a wonderful human being who could draw. Worked with Dale. Let me think. Glenn Keane. I worked with Glenn Keane for a couple years I was an animator on the Long John Silver character on Treasure Planet.
Treasure Planet.
So I worked very closely with Glenn on that.
Wow.
Worked with Eric Goldberg a number of times.
Eric's great.
Hercules, Rhapsody in Blue, Princess and the Frog, Winnie the Pooh, a lot of projects on the outside.
I feel like Eric Goldberg is one of these guys that should have been working back in the 40s and 50s on these cartoons, you know, because he really he did some Tom and Jerry animation for I think a show open, and it was just so amazing. He's just he's so incredible as a talent. I loved his Phil and Hercules.
I worked on those titles too, and I remember we were still living in Glendale at the time. Eric pencil tested those Tom and Jerry show open in our living room because he didn't have a pencil tester at the time.
Mm-hmm. That's right. So I think that's where I saw it there. I saw it there in your.
Is that when you were visiting? Gosh,
yeah.
We don't live there anymore, but yeah. So Eric did incredible work on that.
And one person that we haven't mentioned yet, but was a big influence, was when I was a student, we went to see Aladdin so many times. And when I finally met Mark Henn, I was very starstruck. I didn't know what to say. I think the first time I met him was in Florida.
Right. Oh, when I was working on Mulan and we were visiting out there.
And I was like, oh, hi.
Yeah, Mark isn't.
Mulan is a great movie. It's really a great movie. Yes. I love it.
Yeah. And his work on that is beautiful, beautiful. And then he came out to California, and I remember my office, he moved into an office right next to my office.
Wow.
I was like, oh my gosh, Mark Henn is right next to me. Ah.
Very fortunate.
So I've gotten to know him now.
Right.
But the amount of talent in that man is insane.
Yeah.
And when you see his work, he makes it look so effortless.
It's like Fred Moore in Reincarnated, you know. Maybe not in all the bad ways, but all the good ways, you know. So
yeah, he's just insanely talented, and
flows out of him.
It just flows like water.
Yeah. Well, that's what they used to say about Fred Moore. Just, you know, it was, I think Ollie Johnston in the Frank and Ollie movie, he said that, you know, Fred would take these pencils and it would just flow out like liquid.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah.
If I can interject there, since you brought that up about, I'm fortunate to say that I did know Frank and Ollie. Frank and Ollie would see my work through Dave Master, who were friends. Oh. And they would come to the classroom and comment on my work frequently. And I got to see them a few times, quite actually more than a few times after I left the school and when I was at Disney. A few stories about Frank and Ollie. When they had seen the film that got me into Disney and they had liked it because I was at a film festival where they saw it and they kept some interest in me and saw what I was doing.
Right.
When I started at Disney on my second day, there was a brown package that arrived in my cube. And I'm looking at it right now. It's on the shelf over there. And they had sent me a first edition Illusion of Life that they had signed to me. And they wrote in there, Bert, you have a great career. Go, go, go. And
cool.
Wow. And I was looking at it. And right when I opened it, and this was on the Airway building on pre-production on Pocahontas, Glenn Keane, who was coming to see me because I was doing some rough in-betweens for him, he came in to check on me to see if I was done yet. And he saw that I had just opened this book and he saw it. And he just said, how do you know Frank and Ollie? It was a very fun moment. So that's definitely, I'm very grateful for their friendship. And we were also very fortunate, and we can talk more about it later, but tie it in with Ollie. Mm-hmm. That on our very first Pups of Liberty film, Howard Green took us over to Ollie's house, not long before he passed.
Right.
And showed him the pencil test of our very first Pups of Liberty project, and he liked it a great deal, which was absolutely huge. So I would say, yeah, Frank and Ollie, those were two luminaries that I was very fortunate to know.
Definitely.
Very neat. Yeah, I'll tell you a quick story. And this was kind of fun. When I was working for Don Bluth, they had a special projects division, which ended up doing like the Hanna-Barbera ride for Universal Studios.
Love that ride.
Yeah, so I find it very funny. A Hanna-Barbera cartoons animated by Don Bluth. for a theme park. But sometimes that happens. But anyway, they were working on another project, and it was for a theme park, I think in Japan. And it was, I don't remember the title of it, but they hired Walt Paraguay. And so Walt came in, and Walt, if nobody out there knows who that is, Walt Paraguay was, if you look at 101 Dalmatians, look at the backgrounds on that, and Sword in the Stone, and Sleeping Beauty. He worked at Disney in the 50s and early 60s before he basically had a fit and just walked out. But he ended up doing all the Hanna-Barbera cartoons from that point on, the 60s and 70s. He was doing all the background designing. But anyway, I saw he was there, and we would talk. You kind of make friends, and so anyway, he said to me one day, said, I'm going to the Dinosaur Club. And I said, what's that? And he said, we do this once a month. It's all these Disney guys get together, and I think it used to be Alphonse's. I forgot what they called it. I want to say it's Patty's, not Patty's. They called it something else. But Alphonse's was the hangout, for a lot of the people at the Disney studio in Toluca Lake. And so he said, you want to go? And I said, yeah, sure. So one day we got into his Cadillac, had this giant car from the 60s, which he maintained. It's like had to be 1989, 88, 89, 90, somewhere around there. And so get in his car, and we're, the studio was over by the Burbank Airport. We went down to Toluca Lake, and we go inside. And let's see, Dale Bear was there. Trying to think of some of the other people. Ken Anderson. Andreas was there. I think Jane Bear was there as well. Yeah, there was a few other people that I didn't know, but it was pretty wild, because I'm sitting there at this table with the new and old Disney legends, even at that time. I don't know if I got 3 words out, because I was in awe of these people. And a lot of them had retired. Ken Anderson had retired, maybe 10 years prior. It was just very, very interesting to be sitting at these people with, that I kind of grew up with. I don't know.
What a fun opportunity.
I love those moments.
Yeah.
Those are, whenever those blessings occur, those are just some great memories.
Yeah, they are. And most of those people are gone. Dale passed away a couple of years ago, and I don't even know who's left. Ken Anderson a long time ago too. I think back in the, I want to say the mid-90s, somewhere in the mid-90s, he passed away. Mm-hmm. Yeah, crazy. Crazy. Yeah. All that talent, So anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about before. So, okay, so Emperor's New Groove and Jennifer, you went into story. So did you do story?
How Wild Things Are, and then that got
yes.
Decommissioned.
It turned into they made it in live action a few years.
Yeah, they ended up making it in live action.
Right.
And then I went to Disney and worked on a project in development that never got made. And then I went back to Universal to work on Hero Bear with Mike Kunkel. Mm-hmm. But that didn't get made either.
Wow.
And then that's when we went to New Zealand.
Yes, I worked on Lord of the Rings there in New Zealand, and I think that's where you might have developed Pups of Liberty, right?
That's where Pups of Liberty happened. And at that time, I was thinking a lot about animation and education and how it could be used for more than what we were using it for at the time. There's a lot of shows, there's a lot of films, but nothing was really historical or educational. So I was developing maybe a book, maybe, just trying to think of different things. And I'd always loved history, but I never really thought about kind of American history that much until we were out of the country in New Zealand.
Right.
And then it kind of like gives you a chance to think, okay, well, what is really good about this? And what do I like about it? What do I want to teach about it? And I developed, I think it started out as different things. Like Bert always remembers, it was, we had some kind of version with the cats, like Mayflower cats.
Right.
So, it was like just different subjects. And then the Pups of Liberty happened. And
At the time, it was, you called it Founding Father
Dogs.
Right.
And I like the idea of boiling down things so that you could teach kids, younger kids, like pre-high school. So you could teach them these concepts that they don't have any exposure to. Like, is a 5-year-old going to know what a tax is?
Right.
How do you teach them something on a level that they can understand?
Civics.
So it's basic civics, but that they're going to like and understand, because a lot of stuff is extremely dry and they don't have any experience with it.
Okay, I'm just going to backtrack a little bit. I grew up on all these educational films, and I mean, there were some that were directed by Frank Capra, that he did these half-hour Bell telephone films, and they're quite good. And they'd be directed by Chuck Jones and Friz Freleng, and I think Seamus Culhane did one, I believe. And but the Disney educationals, very, very inspirational. A lot of really good educational films that they did over the years, like Donald the Math Magic Land. And I really loved the Man in Space, Man on the Moon films that Ward Kimball did for TV, but they're primarily educational films. I mean, and I think we were talking about Ben and Me too before we started the podcast itself. But Ben and Me is one of my favorite Disney films. It feels like it could have been a feature film. And it's really wonderful. And I'm sure a lot of people haven't seen it, but they should go back and look at it. I'm sure it's on Disney Plus, but you were inspired, but both of you were inspired by those educational films, right?
Yep. Ben and Me, I absolutely loved. We've mentioned Donald before.
Mm-hmm.
Truth About Mother Goose. I mean, Disney did so many of those.
Whistle, Plunk, and Boom.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Just that format.
Yep. Melody is excellent.
Yeah, all of them.
Mm-hmm.
I loved. And I this is just kind of an aside, having nothing to do with history, but I loved All the Cats Join In. That was one of my favorite.
Oh
things
yeah.
Growing up. But yeah. So I had been thinking about how to apply this to education, the Pups started out as a book, and then when we came back, we decided to make it into a film, because that's just kind of what we do. It's like the language we speak, so may as well make it into a film. So,
and the Disney ones, as you mentioned, the Disney educational films were so appealing to me because they were done with the full Disney classic style of animation, which really, I think, makes them last to today, because they weren't produced with their full feature quality animation. And I thought, what if we carried on that tradition and combined educational work with full animation, because very rarely does work geared towards classrooms and education be treated with that. So
Right. So when you came up with this idea to do the Pups of Liberty, I don't know why I have problems saying that. Pups of Liberty. I don't know. It's one of those tongue twister things, I guess. When you came up with it, Bert, you were looking at it, because Jennifer, you were developing it, and Bert, you looked at it, and what were your initial feelings on that?
Oh, I loved it. And I've always, it's interesting. Jennifer got into the business as an animator and drawing like Tony Fucilli and James Baxter. And it was just really fun to see, after, following other people's styles, just to see her unique style come out with this. And I thought, let's I just want to see this bloom. So I think it was just an opportunity to, wanting to not just see Jennifer's style come to light, but I just truly loved it. So to some degree, the very first Pups of Liberty is Jennifer just got to storyboard in the thing, and she storyboarded it. And an animation editor who I had worked with on that Fat Albert project at Warner's, Jason Tucker, said, hey, I'm renting an editing suite in, what would it have been, in Studio City. And
I have a few days.
We had a few days. And he helped us cut together a story reel.
Wow.
And we'd gotten some scratch dialogue, and he helped us got that going. Yeah.
It was almost all boarded on Post-its, the first one.
Oh, wow.
It was just thumbnails. I just went through and boarded the whole thing, scanned it, and then gave him those files, and then sat and edited with him. And he's a fantastic editor. Went on to work with George Lucas, and a great, great editor, taught me so much.
Right.
And then we put it into motion to start animating it. And it was our labor of love to, we had made films in school and had so much fun and joy from making films.
Right.
And just basically running amok and having fun. So we kind of wanted the same experience.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah, what's neat about taking the storyboards and matching it with a track, it's the very first version of how that film is going to play, and it's pretty exciting. And sometimes maybe not so much, because that's where you can tell if you got a film or if there are problems and stuff like that, right?
That's true. It's kind of like adding liquid to that cake mix and seeing if you're going to get a cake.
That's right.
Yeah, I love that process. And I did start. I like to write scripts, so I did write a script and then board. And then when you see it all cut together, sometimes things work better than you thought, and sometimes things are a lot worse.
Yeah,
and
I know that feeling, believe me.
Yeah, you realize right away, okay, this needs to be cut for time, or this just isn't working, or I really imagine that this sequence would be great, and it's not pulling its weight. So then you can make a lot smarter cuts,
Right.
And sometimes things just read better in a script, and you see it on screen and you just say, that's just not necessary. And then a lot of times things you thought you were communicating aren't there, so you have to go back in and fix it.
Right.
But
yeah, so I was very pleased when I saw Pups of Liberty cut together, and I thought, we should make this. And then things just started to come together. Some friends of ours at the time had a small animation studio in Burbank with a recording room, Dave Kuhn and Sean Keller, and they said, hey, we're not doing much. You can use our recording studio.
Wow.
And so a couple, a friend of a friend was an actor in this, and then he brought an actor friend along, and we recorded the final dialogue in their studio, and we still didn't have a voice for Anne, and then Jennifer was filling in for Anne, and we pitched it, and then we just kept going with it.
Right.
So Jennifer wasn't going to be Anne, but you recorded it that day, and then you became Anne the pup. So when we saw the final voices and the storyboard animatic come together, I thought, okay, well, this is crazy. This is a 15, 16-minute film, but let's just make this. And, there were two, big steps in the animation process. One was just getting started.
Right.
I initially was doing a lot of the animation on it and did just put one foot in front of the other. I remember the very first shot I animated in the film. I think it was Anne passing over a newspaper to one of the pups, and I just kept on going.
Wow.
And one of the things that was an interesting turning point on that was I hadn't talked to Mark Henn in years, and at the time I was teaching character animation at Cal Arts, and I called up Mark and asked him to guest speak at my class, and he did, which was great. And then one thing went to another, and he was really missing doing hand-drawn animation at the time because they weren't doing any at Disney.
Right.
This was during the Meet the Robinsons era. And we said, hey, why don't you come over to our place for lunch? And we showed him Pups of Liberty with, some animation cut in, my okay stuff. But we said, hey, Mark, there's one scene that we think would be perfect for just the right person to do. And he's like, oh, you mean me? and he left with a scene, and it was that moment where Anne was completely sad that when all was lost, because Mark, is all is lost moment. And
right.
He started animating that shot. And, there's a lot in between, but that was a huge, huge thing for Pups of Liberty. And many, many years later, on these current projects, we are continuing working with Mark on these. So
that's very neat. I think I know what the moment you're talking about. Is this when the father is hauled away by the cats? That's the moment, right?
Yep.
Okay. There you go.
Big emotional.
You see, I actually watch this stuff. I do sit down and I watch it because I love it. I love hand-drawn animation. And, people have said to me, oh, you must hate the 3D stuff. I don't hate the 3D stuff. I love that equally as well. But
one thing that I really treasure from the Pups experience really is we had a big room, and we had a pencil tester, we had a few computers, some drawing desks, and we would have people over pencil testing, and we'd be looking at the cut, and somebody would be working on a scene. And
that was 20 years. When was that? That was like in 2004.
It was. Yeah. We would have people all come over it was just to.
Yeah, that was a really great and special time. Really not to get back to that. One thing I will say about CG though is doing both. Whether it looks like, one thing or the other, it's a lot harder to do than it looks.
Right.
So I would say that, a lot of really, really great talents put a lot of work to get those results. It's a little harder to get than it would look, because it's not just as simple as moving a puppet around, but
right.
It is, it's, as I was saying before, it's really its own thing. But yeah, getting to work, with Mark was just absolutely special. And we eventually finished that thing a great deal thanks to him. So right. Yeah, we finished the very first Pups of Liberty.
Yeah, I don't want to take anything away from computer animation, because there's a lot of good stuff, a lot of great stuff that's being done. So I don't mean to make that come off wrong, because
Oh no, not at all. They're just both completely. They're both very, very different art forms.
Yeah, I think if you equate it to music. It's like, you just may have a thing for jazz. You may just love jazz. And it doesn't mean that you don't like rock and roll or classical or anything else. You just have this thing for jazz. So, that's the way I kind of equate it. Because there is amazing stuff being done with computer animation. So not anyway.
Well, I always think of it too. I think of everything as just, it's a different media. Like, if you have stop motion in there, stop motion is a completely different media.
That's right.
So 2D is a different media, and CG is a different media. It's all different tool sets and different timing senses and different histories. So, and they're all respected and
absolutely.
Fantastic ways to animate. So.
Yeah, the thing some people may not know about me is when I was really young, I was very talented as a puppeteer, and I wanted to work for Jim Henson, and so I would, he was based in New York here on 67th Street, and in Manhattan, and I got his number, and I would call him on Saturdays and talk to Jim Henson. This is back when I was an infant. No, I was about maybe 11 or 12 maybe. And I really wanted to do this. And then the animation bug got me. And I got a camera, and I started playing around, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I want to do animation. I love animatronics. I love, a lot of different, I love stop motion. I love the stuff that Bill Justice did with Exitensio.
The Noah's Ark. And the Parent Trap. And
the titles. Yeah. I love all that stuff.
I'm not the most coordinated fellow in the world. And that's one of the things that I love about animation is time is completely stopped for the animator. and you can portray any kind of complicated action you want, one frame or drawing or image at a time. So it allows you to do things that you could never actually do in real life, moving around in real time.
That's right. You could be a horrible dancer, but I think Preston Blair was not from what I understood, he was not a great, he could not really move on the dance floor. I heard he was really kind of clumsy, but he did some really nice animation of what was the character, Red from the Tex Avery, the Tex Avery shorts. Yeah.
You can observe, you can analyze, and time is conveniently stopped for you, one frame at a time to break it down and make it happen. So I greatly enjoy that aspect of it.
I just want to ask you this question because when I haven't been animating for a while, like on and off animating, but I used to get into a zone, and I don't think I've ever talked to anybody about this, but when you animate, when you're really into that scene, you're flipping the paper and you're just, what you're supposed to do. You've thumbnailed it out. It's clear in your head how you're going to animate it. I know I would just kind of get lost into it and the time would just evaporate. Time, space, everything around that drawing. And all of a sudden you become part of that drawing in a way, or part of that series of drawings. Do you agree with that, or?
Yeah, there's a book that's written about that. It's called Flow, and it's basically that thing that happens to artists where we have extreme focus. So it happens to musicians when they're playing a piece and the creative mind just takes over, and it happens to animators when we animate and we're able to really get focus and just do it. It happens to fine artists and sculptors, and I'm sure it happens to stop motion animators too when they're in their zone animating. But yeah, that I think is a very real artistic thing that happens, and sometimes it would be tough in the workspace to get into it. That's why all of us wore headphones all the time, I think.
That's right.
Except Bert, I don't think he ever wore headphones.
I wear headphones because it's part of, I'll play something that's basically almost mood music. And then I will just zone out. I won't even be listening to what's going on. It's just kind of, it's just white noise. And then
I remember when I was at Warner's, I had a lot of soundtracks, but sometimes when I really needed to focus, I would play like this really hard rock because it would become like white noise, you wouldn't hear it. And I remember Adam Burke, who is an animator, he came we would steal music from other animators, because it was all on CD. And so he came into my office and he's like, "You probably don't have anything I want to listen to." And then he starts listening to it and he's like, "What? You have this? You have this?" And then he ends up taking all my music.
I might say the same thing.
Because I had this stuff where you basically zone out. It's that white noise.
Right.
And then focus and do good work.
Yeah, now one difference, though, technical differences in CG animation, we have the unique luxury of, while we're working in the software, whether it's Maya or whatever, the soundtrack plays pretty much in real time with what you're doing. So you're hearing the same sound play all the time. Whereas in hand-drawn animation, you listen to it a bit, then you draw for a couple days or whatever, then you pencil test it, then you hear it. But when you're doing CG, that same sound is playing over and over and over again. So everybody's got to wear headphones, right? Because you're pretty much in CG listening to it while you're animating it. And that's one interesting fundamental difference. So I guess I'm just always not really listening to anything good while I'm doing CG animation. I'm just hearing that same
thing.
Sound clip.
Do you go to sleep and is it still on repeat when you're sleeping at night?
Sometimes it is for me because I just hear it.
Yeah, and then you can never watch those movies again.
Yes.
And because you can hear it through my headphones, and then I'll see the movies and they're like, how many times do I have to hear, "Thanks, buddy. thanks, buddy,
Yeah.
or whatever it is.
Yeah, the pandemic kind of changed that because
Right.
it wouldn't work at home so much, but you end up hearing the same sound clip for
on
weeks.
Raya
for weeks.
I'm back in the studio now, but I had to work at home on Raya and Encanto. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks. I believe that's from the. I might be from Strange World.
Strange World.
Yes, that's which is coming out next week.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so we're the zone. Yeah, I would say that when I definitely feel the zone in hand drawn. Definitely when I get a chance to do it, feeling how the pencil is in your hand. I especially love if you animate an underlayer and a colored pencil, being able to take a darker pencil and hone some of the details, fix the movement, fix the acting. And when you can have some time to do that, it's wonderful when it's working. And sometimes you're in a zone when it isn't working and you rustle and find your way through it. But yes, as Jennifer can attest, time does have a way of getting away from me when I'm in that zone and doing animating. It's very unique animating.
It is. I would get into that zone and just be like, just the whole world would just close off. And I'm divorced, but at the time when my wife would see me working late at night, and she said, you make all these weird movements with your body, and you do all these facial expressions as you're animating. She said it's just really, really kind of creepy.
When I'm doing hand drawn,
and you don't even realize you're doing it because it's almost like you're pushing with your entire body to get an expression. It's it can become very physical too.
It's very physical. There's such a connection with the pencil. There's just nothing else between you and the pencil.
Yeah.
So you feel like you can, if you make that expression, maybe the drawing will get better.
There might be a lot of truth to that, though, because you're just really you're forcing it. It's almost like you're birthing it out of your mind onto the paper.
Yeah, in CG, since you have a model and you can push and pull things around, you generally, you can just try a lot of different things with a lot of different options until you find it. Instead of you just have to directly make that expression. Instead of like, oh, let me grab this control over here and close this eye more and move that mouth. It's a little different. Yeah.
Pretty interesting. With Pups of Liberty, like when you did, after you did the story reel and you started getting the animation going on this thing, did you have any sort of budget for this? Did you, this was basically a labor of love and you're doing this out of your pocket. So, did you call a lot of favors on that first film, or?
I would say on that first one, and we did a lot of it ourselves. That one was really, and honestly, it still is a labor of love now.
Sure.
For what it is. But it was. That one was we just worked on that constantly. Like it was an independent film, and we got it finished, and it was in some film festivals and got some interest. It was actually nominated for an Annie Award, which was very exciting.
Oh, very neat. How long did it take from just starting it with the storyboards to completing it? How long did that take to do?
I'm gonna have to say 3 years, 4 years.
Probably 3 years.
Yeah. And it was all computer. Everything was scanned into the computer. What did you use? Did you use like Harmony or?
We're using Harmony, and same as we are today, Dan Larson, who's working on these new pup shorts with us, scanned them into Harmony. And it's funny, one other thing that's interesting too is when we were doing that first Pups, talking about getting it going and started, it was a very exciting time where things, video was terrible, video and videotape, and it was just the worst. It was better than, I don't know. When non-linear editing came in, QuickTimes, movie files, being able to shoot a pencil test, early editing software like Premiere, that just really opened our eyes to a lot of things and made it possible for people out of their homes to, edit and cut video together. I mean, it was really the start of the video editing revolution. And, prior to that, people would have huge suites at Disney and Avid and this and that. And
Right.
things had just changed where the consumer could do it. And that really, really excited me. So that was huge in being able to make an independent film on our own, to be able to cut that together.
Yeah.
And,
I mean, there's consumer software out there that basically it's as good as professional material maybe 5 years ago, like Avid, and that's how fast the technology is coming. But, it's like the new stuff, the new editing stuff, it's like it has all these bells and whistles, a lot of things that you're probably not even going to use. And with this editing software that's available, the prosumer or the consumer software, it's actually quite good. It's quite good for making a film. And
yeah, it's fantastic.
absolutely. So that was just starting to come of age. So I just have to say that era of that happening really made Pups of Liberty possible for us to be able to do and do on our own like that, the way that we did. And it was in some film festivals, and it was a very exciting time.
so Pups of Liberty actually it continued on. So you did a second one. And how long did it take before you started doing that? And who was backing that? Who was helping you with that?
So the first one was 2009. The second one was 2015, and I think we took 2.5 years.
We might have finished it
For
in
that one?
2015.
We
We
finished
might have
it
started it in
2015.
2013. Yeah. One thing led to another, and the group that we're working with now to produce these helped us procure a modest budget for Pups 2. It was very, very shoestring, as are the current shorts, but we were able, it was just enough to get it on screen. And we worked with a lot of same folks, worked with Mark Henn. Mark did a lot of Pups 2, and Dale Bear animated the Benjamin Franklin character on Pups of Liberty 2 and designed him, and it was just such an absolute thrill. And Dale did some wonderful work on that.
Oh, he did beautiful animation on that.
Yeah. If you want to see just pure Dale, because I'm not going to tell Dale or Mark what to do. I'm letting these guys,
be themselves,
and
Sure.
and display every talent that they have. And you want to see pure Dale. Look at that Franklin. Like he's such an artist.
And it's heartbreaking because Dale it took us a while to, just with life and things and for these new Pup shorts to get going. And just sad the other day looking at old emails of Dale saying, "Hey, any more Pups of Liberty coming up? I can't wait to work with you guys on that again."
Yeah.
And unfortunately,
and it was so fast.
Just as we started on these, it was too late. And Dale's signature character for Pups 2, Benjamin Franklin, he was featured in one of these new shorts, and we dedicated that episode to Dale.
I saw that.
Yeah, it was very sad, and hopefully, and Mark animated Benjamin Franklin and Dale as a tribute to Dale. But yeah, that was just an amazing thrill to work with both of them on that.
Right. You're doing a bunch of shorts now that 2 and 3 minutes long with these characters. Tell me a little bit about that. How'd that come about, the short tales?
So with our educational partners, we were able to come in and do 2 more seasons. But with the pandemic, I think what people want to see on YouTube has changed. And just with the pandemic and just with what youth wants to see. And a shorter format is actually very, very good for pups. So we decided to try shorter format so that we could highlight many different characters that you don't usually get to see. A longer format, you're committing to a larger story. And you might just get to see like little bits of characters, but maybe not totally get into their life. The shorter format, we get to really highlight that one person. Like we did Deborah Sampson.
Yes.
Was a woman that wanted to join the military And to do that, she joined as a man in disguise. And after she was injured eventually, but she was a sharpshooter. She was in the like a top regiment, was shot and found out, and then went on to live a very normal life, got married, had kids, stuff like that. No one really talks about her. So we thought these are great stories that we would love to highlight. Thomas Paine's a great one, all his contributions. So we're really enjoying the shorter format. The long form ones tell stories about bigger events, the Tea Party and the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
But
one thing I'd like to add about the short format, which goes in line with what you were talking about, Brian, about those, thinking of like Melody or Toot Whistle Plunk and Boom or Donald and Mathmagic Land. I mean, when you have a very small budget, and especially if it's for education, we can't do full animation the whole way through. So the format works great for us to have animation full on ones and twos at the beginning and end. And when we go into the story or flashback section, we can do a more stylized bit of animation with less movement, because it just sort of works. And that's also fun too, to explore different styles that way. But I definitely very, very much influenced by the Disney educational films. So I kind of feel like these shorter Pups projects are able to produce because we do it in that way, and also very much in line with that influence.
I think by doing it that way, you still get the flavor of the full animation, which is beautiful. And I mean, these things are really nicely designed, I have to say. They have a storybook feel to them as well. But the great thing about that, where you go into like telling a little story in the middle of this full animation thing that's happening, and you can get really stylized and play off other strengths, and that can be fun too. So, I don't think, I tell people all the time that limited animation does not have to be, and excuse me for saying this, crap. It doesn't have to be crap. It can be, you could do good limited animation. Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, we were talking about this, I think before, or maybe in the beginning of the show. And it's really nicely designed. The backgrounds are designed really well. It doesn't have full animation, but it didn't need it. It moves when it needs to move. And that's the brilliance of that. And it's the same thing with any Chuck Jones produced piece, at Warner Brothers, or How the Grinch Stole Christmas. It moves when it needs to move. And it's and it works. It works as its own thing. So, the beautiful animation at the beginning as a framework, and then the outro of that, and then the some limited animation thrown in the middle to help tell the story, I think works beautifully. I think it's really well done. And the music ties it in really well. But the acting is really good too, I think.
We're trying to insert things in those little middle sections, like with the Alexander Hamilton, you have a map, and it's trying to be an authentic map to show you what that looked like back then, so that there's always an educational aspect to it. Mm-hmm. And, we're trying to show, ships the way they were, or a location as it looked, maybe done as a wood engraving, stuff like that. So we're always trying to enhance and add things that might bring in a discussion, something to be discussed or something to be looked at a little bit more, even if it's limited. Right. So that it's not just, oh darn, limited animation. No, it's like contributing to the fullness of all the historical context.
Sure.
A couple collaborators I'd like to mention really quick, since we're talking about this section, is our friend Tom Roth, who worked on these first season of Pup Shorts in the limited animation sections. He is 80 years old and still doing animation. Wow. So truly amazing. So I want to give a shout out to Tom Roth, and also to the other Tom, Jennifer and I have a co-director on these shorts. He's a Disney story artist, and he's also a director on the Rapunzel show, the Tangled show at Disney, and a lot of other things. Tom Caulfield, who assists us in storyboarding and design, and we all do a little bit of everything. But just wanted to give a shout out to Tom, who him and Jennifer direct together.
And then Mark Henn, of course, our fantastic animator, and Jodie Koistra.
And
who
also
does cleanup.
There was something that you put on Facebook. It was a piece of animation that looked really, really great. And there's other animators on it. I'm trying to think who that was. I'm sorry.
was it Matt Williams?
Matt Williams?
Was it Matt? He pronounces it Williams, but Williams. Oh, was it of the Injured Minute Mutt?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that one is absolutely beautiful. Matt's one of the greatest animators in the world, and I'm just trying to just one other fun fact. Some other folks that we collaborate with is Mark Henn's son, Greg Henn, co-writes the scripts with us.
Oh, very neat. How old is he? He has to be 40, somewhere around 40.
Right? No. He's 30, maybe.
I think Greg's in his late 20s or early 30s.
Oh,
I don't know.
All right.
I don't want to age him.
I don't want to give anyone the wrong age, but
he's 20.
Younger guy.
Yeah, we'll just say.
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to Mark Henn's son, Greg. Shout out to the whole Henn family.
There you go. How many you got? So you got the first seat. You got 5 of these that are. You have another one coming up, and then you're going to be doing another 5. Correct?
5 in this group that will be. The next one should be coming out pretty soon to complete the 5.
Okay.
And then we are working on the next 5.
Yep.
Very cool. Well, they're really well done, and it's very, very entertaining. And if you love hand-drawn animation, geez, everybody go and see it. And now everybody's going to say, well, where can I see it?
YouTube.
Yeah, I would say best way to find it is go on to YouTube and do a search for Pups of Liberty or Pups of Liberty Short Tales, and check out our Pups of Liberty Facebook page for all the latest happenings on it. And we just really, really appreciate people checking it out, and that really people watching it. It's primarily being viewed in the classrooms by teachers and students who the first couple Pups films were on DVD that were given out to schools. Nowadays, it's more common for them just to be hooked up online and showing stuff on YouTube. So that's one of its primary ways that it gets out there. But I would say that for outside of the classroom, for any supporters of Pups of Liberty who will go on there and watch the films and share it with their friends, would be a huge help to getting more support.
There you go.
It's being used by teachers. There's educational worksheets to support it too, if any teachers are interested.
Yeah, I'll mention isit.org, who is our production partners on this, which we work with teachers and history teachers and experts to make sure everything is historically accurate, and they actually create homework and papers and worksheets that our teachers can download and print out so they can show the kids the films, and then the kids can take quizzes on the films and get little certificates. So it's pretty fun.
That's one really fun aspect of making these, is seeing them used in the classroom. Maybe one day somebody will say, oh yeah, I remember that film about cats and dogs.
I think the magic of doing something like this, and we were talking about Ben and Me, is it, history is a weird thing because people cannot put themselves into that place. It's just like they read it and it's like, yes, they signed the Declaration of Independence and then everything was fine with the world or whatever. But you by doing a film like a Ben and Me, where it gives personality, it makes these characters human, even though it's animated. It gives feelings. You empathize with these characters, and I think that's the great thing about Pups of Liberty, is the fact that you're basically doing that. I mean, okay, they're cats and dogs representing the real colony people, and then the people of England. So, but you're putting some humanity into these dog and cat characters. I hope I said that right, but
Yeah,
It's a huge compliment. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I really enjoy them, and I appreciate that you're doing hand-drawn animation. What's next? Is there anything next that you're thinking of, or?
Oh, I got to get through these next 5 Pups of Liberty shorts. I work full. I'm still, I'm working full time at a Disney feature animation. Jennifer, you just finished an Apple TV job, TV job, and we raising a couple kids, and so right now our plate is very full. I would say that as so there are 5 more pup shorts on the way after this last one comes out on YouTube, but. Yeah, I would say that kind of what's next will be greatly enhanced by the support that we get by people checking these films out. It's not really what is popular right now in mainstream culture as far as, stuff that's educational and historical. Our kids call it cringe,
Well, I think it's anything.
Kids call it cringe,
educational.
Educational. They're into the memes and TikTok videos.
You know what?
But
you ask them about any of these characters, and they know
who they
facts.
are. They learn, So
they're hammered into their brain.
So hopefully, the parents out there will, watch it with their kids and can enjoy it with the family, because I do think it's a rare project and worthwhile, because, the Disney projects you mentioned, like, whether it was Ben and Me or Math and Magic Land, they not only stand out for how great they are, but they stand out because they just stand out because that's not really the majority of the animation entertainment that's produced. So we feel really proud to be doing this little corner of things,
Well, I think they become timeless. I think something that's well done, just you could watch it 50 years from now or 100 years from now, and it's still going to play well. And and I think, with Ben and Me is going to be almost 70 years old next year, which is crazy because it's so well animated, and the colors pop, and it's just really, really a wonderful, wonderful film. It's only 15. It's only about 16 minutes long. It's not a long film. It looks like feature animators worked on it.
It was a feature. And just to keep going, you'd mentioned about the humanity of these characters. I think not only, it's Jennifer's creation, but a huge part of that comes from Mark Henn, who brings such sincerity and humanity to everything that he touches, that him being really the driving force behind so much of this animation makes it a really special project that, when people discover it, they're like, wow, this is really unique and different. And that is really one of the reasons why.
I just want to tell everybody out there that these two, Jennifer and Bert, they're both amazing at what they do. They're just amazing talents. Bert is an absolute brilliant animator, and I've seen your work, man.
Really? It's all right. I think Jennifer's a much better animator than me.
I was just about to say that. And Jennifer is a brilliant animator. So, it's great to have all this talent under one roof. And I'm sure you're raising your kids to be also great talents as well.
Well, to give a plug, our daughter Emily has helped us out with some of the storyboards on the John Adams short.
Wow.
The
color keys, she's helps us with the color design on these shorts.
She's better at color than we are.
Yeah, I actually think that these pup shorts have a different color feel because of Emily's involvement. So she's assisting us in color design and combinations. And in the John Adams short, she helped storyboard the middle story section about the trial and the red cats, and that some of that got translated over. So she's getting involved.
There you go. So you just need to create a whole animation studio. Just got to keep having kids, and
Our son is the voice. Our son Aaron, his voice unfortunately has changed, so we have to get in for season 2. Have to find somebody else. But in our next upcoming episode about Samuel Adams, the little Jack Russell character in it is the focus on this one, and he was the voice, and it's adorable, and we're very blessed that we have his voice in a time capsule right before it changed. Right. But actually, I will say that is one of the fun things that, you'll be seeing in this next pup short and these pup shorts and the upcoming ones is that not everyone is going to be all about Anne. You know, some will be about Anne and Jack. Some will be about Jack and the historical figure. So it just kind of gives us a lot of different options to try things and expand, where if we had to tell, you know, a 15, 16-minute story, we're just kind of stuck with it, you know?
Right. Wow. Well, look, I wish you two the best of success with this and with your careers. Just want everybody to know out there, if you cannot find Pups of Liberty, you can go to the Cartoonerific website and go to the blog there, and you can just click there, and it will take you right to all these wonderful shorts. So please do that and support hand-drawn animation.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian, thank you so very much. Thank you so much for all the support you've been giving Pups of Liberty.
Oh, hey, hand-drawn animation, got to keep it alive, you know? And you're doing your part, so it's wonderful. Wonderful stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions or comments about the podcast? Please email Brian at cartoonerific.com. Your email may be featured in one of our future shows.
Well, thank you, Jennifer and Bert Klein, for that wonderful interview. They're really terrific people. They love the medium of animation. They're working in traditional and computer. Bert is he's the animation supervisor on Zootopia Plus. I watched a few episodes of this. It's the CG computer animation. And the animation in it is really good, and there's a lot of inventive stuff going on, a lot of good acting. So kudos to Bert Klein for being one of the leads on that wonderful show. If you haven't seen it, it's on Disney Plus, of course, and it's really terrific. So please check it out. Well, the old tick-tock on the wall says it's time to go. Yep, that's what it says. Anyway, next week on the Cartoonerific podcast, we're going to have on a special guest. I think you kind of knew that already, but I like to say it. Anyway, if you really like what you're listening to, please subscribe. Go to your favorite service and subscribe to the Cartoonerific podcast so that when a new show is uploaded, you'll know about it. Also, please tell a friend. Very important that you tell a friend so that you spread the word, the good word about the Cartoonerific podcast. So please do so. Anyway, the company store is now up and operating. The Animation Art Gallery is also up and operating, selling, wait for it, animation art. There you go. Anyway, it's been fun. Look, everybody, I want you to have a great day. I want you to have an excellent week. And thank you all once again for tuning in. The Cartoonerific podcast is copyright 2024 by Cartoonerific Studios Incorporated. All rights reserved.